Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It's still a lovely day. It was a lovely day this morning when I made the morning video, and it's still a lovely day. Just a little crisp in the air, but certainly not cold, but yet not hot. It's almost that Goldilocks, temperature. I made a video last week talking about money, dollar, collapse, all that kind of stuff. And I said in that video that I thought that some of the stuff that's going on in the world today that's captivating everyone's attention, whether it's pop stuff or just, the next big greatest war or something's going to do this or that. It's not that those things aren't real, but I said that I think sometimes those can be distractions from the real big things that's happening. And in that video, I said that I think one of the big things that's happening is the currency shift on this planet. For decades now, the U.S. dollar has been the prominent, currency. And not just the petrodollar, it's just been the global dollar, really. I mean, it's been the first time in human history that there was kind of, sort of, a global currency. You could just about go anywhere and use the U.S. dollar. Everyone wanted it. And that's what allowed this country to spend so much money and get us into debt, and why Americans have enjoyed pretty cheap stuff, and been financially prosperous. That's a big part of it. And I think that's why now we're starting to really hurt financially. It's a trickle-down effect. It's sometimes difficult to pinpoint A to B with something like this. But the fact that our debt is getting so high and that more and more countries aren't really that big on the U.S. dollar. I mean, most are still using it, certainly, but they're just not. They're not happy about it. They're not in love with it anymore, and we're starting to see more countries break away and either completely drop it or discourage it. And this is, in a historical sense, in a global sense, this is really the first real big signal of a demise of a civilization, is when its currency stops being, used. And when I say civilization, I guess I should say the prominent one, the world leader, the world order, whatever civilization on this planet that is the dominant one. At one point in time, it was the British. At one point in time, it was the Spaniards. It was the Dutch. It was, all of these different, the Romans. They weren't the only country, the only civilization, but they were the prominent one. They were the one that set the standard. And their currencies were used everywhere. People wanted them. The people wanted their money because it was valuable, because it was accepted, and because it was backed by respect and power. And then when those countries stopped having that respect and having that power, and their economy started getting weak, people stopped being interested in their currency, and it was a huge signal of the impending doom of that civilization. And that's what we're seeing in America. Just today, two things. Just today, it's in the news that Russia and China have almost completely gone off the U.S. dollar when it comes to their intertrade. So trade between China and Russia and China. And while, they're not a huge bulk of the global economy, they're big. I mean, Russia has a lot of oil, diamonds, gold, things like that, a lot of those valuable commodities. China produces a lot of stuff, and they're both pretty good size economies. China definitely one of the biggest, and Russia still a good size economy. So that right there, those trades between those two countries that's now not in U.S. dollars, that's hurting it. There's several small economies in like African continent that's walked away or is walking away from the U.S. dollar. Saudi Arabia has kind of indicated, in certain trade deals that they may get away from that. Venezuela today announced that they are moving forward with accepting cryptocurrencies for their oil. And that's a big deal because Venezuela is one of the largest oil producers on this planet. Regardless of how poor they are or how mismanaged they are and all their socialism and stuff, they're one of the big boys when it comes to oil. And if they go off the US dollar and they start accepting cryptocurrency or just anything else, that's another major blow. It's not a major enough blow to cause the US dollar to collapse, but it's a bigger chunk out of the system. And the system's only going to be able to handle so many chunks taken out of it. And I know that there's still a lot of people that's like, oh, the US dollar is solid. Every time I make one of these videos, I get someone make a comment, say, nothing's going to happen to the US dollar. It's too big and powerful. It's too big and powerful to fail. It's okay that we're in all this debt because everyone's just accepting the US dollar. We could be in $100 trillion, $200 trillion, 10 quazillion, whatever the next, I don't even know what it is. I don't believe that that's true, because I'm pretty sure, I would guess, that someone was saying those kind of things during the British Empire's reign, during the Spaniards, during the Dutch, all of that. And that's that, Humpty Dumpty kind of thing. It's too big and powerful to fail, but when it does, it's going to be extremely disastrous. And that's really where we're at right now. We're entering that period. We've been entering it a while, but I think we're in that period deep enough now that it's starting to become noticeable with our growing inflation. I believe, and I'm no economist, but I'm smart enough to figure a few things out. And I think that's one of the reasons why, the feds, they can't control inflation, right? They can't control inflation. It's not just as simple as, well, the government keeps spending money. The government's been spending money forever. That certainly is a huge factor. But another big factor is the fact that the U.S. currency is becoming less and less of an importance. Less and less people care about it, other countries. And it doesn't matter. I know some of you, yeah, I've been watching the markets and the dollar index is strong and going up and everything. Yes, it's no different than all the other garbage from the markets where it makes it look really good because it's all fictitious, and then the ones like gold and silver, they keep it, held back. To me, those things don't mean that much as the fact of how it affects you in the real world. There's a difference between Wall Street and Main Street. And Wall Street says everything's fine. Main Street is proving that things aren't fine. And that again, I think that's one of the reasons why the Fed can't seem to be able to control inflation, no matter how much they lower rates and stuff. It's because it's beyond that. It's because the US dollar is losing its prominence. It's losing its power. People aren't that interested in it anymore. And that's a very dangerous situation for multiple reasons. One, it could just be a currency collapse. It could be hyperinflation. But honestly, that's not the worst. The worst thing is that it will kick the door wide open for digital currency, which is exactly what they want. They want digital currency because they can control it. It's like it's an amazing dream for them to be able to have all of us using digital currency where they can monitor and control everything we do. Everything. You want to give your child an allowance? Well, you can't, or you have to do it digitally. Your child wants to sell lemonade, or you want to have a garage sale, or you just want to do a private transaction between you and your buddy or your neighbor or something. Not going to be possible. At least not privately. And they want that. They want absolute control. And so, to me, it's no surprise that these things are happening. I think they're very orchestrated because the big bankers, the globalists, the big government bankers, central banks, they want this. And that's why we're seeing all this stuff happen. That's why there's not been any real effort to fix our economy and to fix our currency problem, is because it benefits the one that's in charge if we allow it to collapse. That's why they're spending like madmen, because they're trying to squeeze every bit that they can out of this. And then it collapses, and they're the ones that's transferred their wealth from us to you, from us to them. And then they can say, oh, well, now that it's all bad and collapsed, we'll switch over to the digital currency. And you're broke. You have nothing left. You don't have a home. You don't have things. You don't have a savings account. No one seems to have savings accounts anymore. Everyone's, charged up mounds of debt and credit cards. And they're like, well, we'll switch you over to the dollar. We'll control everything. You'll be even poorer, but at least things will be okay for you. You really have to downsize, right? Really downsize. I mean, if you look at the wealth transfer in the last 3 or 4 years, it's astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing. The amount of wealth that's gone from lower middle class, upper middle class to the top 1, 3, 5%. I mean, it's absolutely astonishing. And this is for a purpose, folks. And I'm telling you, you better buckle up for this one. This is, I think, way more dangerous than World War III potentials or even a pandemic or anything else. Because once this transition happens, there's no going back as far as I can tell. There's no going back. And, once digital currency is fully implemented, that's like the final nail in the coffin, in my opinion. I may not be correct. You may disagree with me. But in my opinion, it's the final nail in the coffin. It's done at that point. At that point, you better be ready, prepared, and where you need to be. Because once that's done, that's end game time. So you better have a plan for it, because I think that day is coming a lot faster than we think. I mean, some countries, it's already happening. I mean, look at Canada. They're right to the north of us. And usually what Canada does, we're not too far behind them. So you better get ready for this one, folks. Get your houses in order and prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.